Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Is It That Deep podcast. You're here with Adi doing your host, and I have a special guest with me. But, before we introduce the special guest, I would like to tell you guys what the topic for today is. So, today we'll be talking about prenup or no prenup. And I've picked someone amazing. I know her personally. She's great. She's ambitious. She works hard. She helps where necessary. Even her being here today, I'm very grateful and appreciative. Right. So I chose her because first, she is a lawyer. I have to shout you out. So she is a legal professional with expertise and experience in contract negotiations, primarily within the pharmaceutical industry. She also is a marriage counselor. Her hobbies includes anything that involves
distressing
with a healthy dose of family and friends. You see, a people person. I'm always at her house. She always has cookouts and everything. Always ready to host us. All right, so you can speak up.
Hello, hi everyone.
Hi.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to have a quick icebreaker before we get into our topic today. And the icebreaker is, tell us one of your most embarrassing moments.
Ooh.
You can take a second to think.
I've got so many of those.
Oh, wow. Okay, share like two.
There's so many of those. I remember when I was dating my husband, at the early stages, at that point where you're still trying to look cute. Mm-hmm. We're having a conversation, I coughed and I farted.
Wait, was it wasn't like face
It was
to
in
face?
person.
Oh, wow.
So, of course, that was mighty embarrassing.
That's very embarrassing. I've not had those moments. I hope not.
A cough and then, another cough. Another cough.
Wow.
Yes.
So, give us another one.
I don't know that this is embarrassing, but as a parent, it felt embarrassing. I had my daughter, our oldest daughter at the time, at that time when she was 3 months old. I had her on the bed. I think it was actually the date she turned 3 months, playing with her, and she, in the twinkle of an eye, fell on the floor. So, of course, that's embarrassing for me as a parent, as a mom, because, when you hire help, you're always saying, keep your eyes on them. Just, you don't have to cook, clean, or, your primary focus is to watch them. And I was there, and my daughter, my young daughter, slipped out of my hand. So I think that's mighty embarrassing.
Did you take her to the hospital after?
I didn't.
I mean, I know her. She's great, so.
Thank God.
No damage to her brain. She's great. She's amazing. All right. So now we're going to get into today's topic, which is prenup or no prenup. I will be in support for you girls and guys to get prenups. I mean, personally, should I say my personal take on this?
Absolutely.
Okay, so my personal take on prenups or no prenups, I actually think that, at least also like relationships that I've seen great relationships. I feel like there was a point I was like, no prenup, because I just saw prenup as like, so you're planning to fail. Yes. Like, you're just trying to strategize on, like, okay, I feel like, because I just feel like if you put everything all down, you're more likely to make sure that you do everything you can do to make sure that you don't lose it all, right? But if you have like this escape, well, I won't call it escape. Some people will be looking at me now. They're about to come for me. I've never said anything.
An exit strategy.
Yeah, some people see it as an, because that's how I used to see it before. But I feel like now I'm more like, maybe it's not. There's people who see it as health insurance. Like, you're not planning for it to fail, but it does not do you the service to just have. So, First Lady will be in support, as you can see. So take it away.
Amen. May God be glorified first and foremost in our conversation. But I think, obviously, this isn't a Christian platform necessarily, but I'm a child of God first.
Amen.
And I would always.
I'm a child of God too, you guys.
Of course you are, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the premise from which I'm approaching this. And I think by God's grace, that would always be the premise as Christ-centered first to approach any issue in life. So prenuptial agreement, right? Or it's essentially a contract, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a contract between married couples or, people that are planning on getting married to essentially protect their assets, right? It's something to protect both parties, to be honest, in case the marriage dissolves. So that's what we're talking about here. But my stance is absolutely no prenuptial agreement. The reason, and I hear your...
I don't think I stated my stance fully, but I think now I'm just more like 50-50. I'm just like, just do what works for you. I don't know what your relationship looks like. And the thing to note, we're coming from a Christian perspective. There's people who are not like Christians. They just live their life, so they will not understand.
I'm sorry, that's the only backdrop that I have. But I understand where you're coming from. And I think at the end of the day, life in and of itself is a balance, isn't it? There's a balance that you have to approach things from. But I think in drafting or entering into a prenuptial agreement, you are right. You have your exit strategy in place. You almost have, a written and binding contracts, right? That's what it is. Telling you what you get when things dissolve. So let me start by saying, at the end of the day, I understand instances where prenuptial agreements are needed. So if you're a widow and you have young kids, and you must put things in trust for them, even that in and of itself is wrong, right?
Yeah.
It's wrong because that means you don't trust who you're dealing with. And I think that is where we should begin. It's the prenuptial agreement should never make a headway if we already know the person we're dealing with. They're tried and tested almost by fire, right? Amos 3:3, very popular scripture.
Yes.
For those that don't understand, it's a scripture in the Bible, right? It says, shall two work together? Yeah. Except they be in agreement. There has to be an agreement towards that ultimate destination. The destination as written by God is that this is a lasting binding, a forever thing.
Sure.
So when the other argument, and I guess I should leave this for you, is, it's life insurance. It's having, so Abby, why do you have a car insurance? Do you not have a car insurance?
You're not planning to die. You're not trying to go hit another car, but
exactly. Yes, you're not trying to die, but it's a protection. But guess what? As children of God, we're giving to Caesar what is Caesar's in that moment. We need this insurance in place for the other person. And I think, right, in a car accident, if you think about it, no one is paying you. You're paying someone else to make sure they're good. And that is the premise of the only time in my mind that I can, and maybe that's why I'm not a divorce attorney or why I'm not in family law even, right? The times when I can think of prenuptial agreements even making sense is if you're a widow or a widower and you have young children and you want to do everything in your power to ensure that they're
Wait,
catered
so when you say
for.
widow or widower, do you mean like someone who's, let's say, already a widow but wants to remarry?
Get married again,
Oh.
right? So it's almost like you're holding things in trust for your children. So,
But isn't that still this? Aren't you? Even if you're, because okay, what are marriage terms, right? You're saying to dead do us apart. So now the person is dead. So you're free to do whatever.
absolutely.
But if you're going to remarry, you're getting into that agreement with a new person. So like in this case, why would you like? I think that if we're saying no prenup, then in this case, they
I
still
am
shouldn't get a prenup
absolutely saying no
because they
prenup.
should trust whoever it
Absolutely.
is that you're getting married to again.
You are right. You're right,
And
Doi.
still on that point. Sorry. Because okay, so now there's people who have generational wealth, right? Their parent, maybe their dad's a billionaire, they inherited so much money and they're going to get married. Because I guess it's generational wealth. They want it, go from one generation to another generation. They are very picky with the people that come into their family. And usually people like that, if you're going to get married to them, best believe you are signing a prenup. So I guess the situation of a widower, because now the widower has kids, they're thinking of
Their
well,
generations.
I have
Yeah.
this family, this person that comes into play
They're
here.
thinking of their
So
posterity. Yeah.
exactly. So I can't give you half of everything if worst comes to worst. So we're going to sign a prenup. So is it okay for those people to?
No, it's not. And if you
Okay.
remember what I said, I started by saying absolutely not. I don't support the concept of prenup, because if you go back again to the biblical position that we have, right? That covenant is meant to be between a man and a woman forever. But then we wouldn't have all of this time to really talk about it and, talk about the pros and cons if I don't make an exception. And that is the only instance in my mind where we can even begin to entertain the concept of a prenup, because I've seen that happen where it's almost like, oh, this is held in trust for my children, and please, no one, not even me, right?
Yeah.
Not even me, let alone anyone else that I'm marrying or, welcoming into my life can access it. But going back to the beginning, it's during courtship that we should really weed out who we're going to spend forever with, right? Isn't it?
Maybe I should have you back so that you can come and give us tips to take down, or tips before you, like tips to
Note, right?
yeah, notes before you get married, like things you should do. Oh, measures to take before getting into a relationship, and measures to look for even in a relationship.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, right, we're putting the horse first behind the cart. And, it should be the other way around. The horse should be in front of the cart, right? It's the horse leading. So when you get to a point of prenuptial after you've met that person, then that means there's no foundational trust there. I mean, the Bible tells us that if the foundations are
but
faulty.
how well can you really know someone though? Like people date for a year or two, and again they also say like the 10-year-old version of you is not the same, or even the version of you 5 years ago.
But it's meant to be a better version of you.
right?
Right?
Yeah, a better version. But not everybody's progressing in a positive
Not
light.
everyone is moving.
Some people maybe
forward.
maybe some crazy life event happened to them. Maybe their parents died, or they lost a baby. Some people even yes, or maybe they lost a baby or something. It could be something that just makes a person change. And if you're married to someone, even if we're even going to put in the relationship view, there are some people who are married, right? And they lose a baby, and maybe the husband's, attitude towards his wife changed, or the wife's attitude towards her husband changed. And that in itself can make her become a different person, or make him become a different person. It's like, well, this is not the person I married. Now you've changed because life has happened.
That's where the God factor must and should always come in. At the end of the day, we cannot ultimately protect ourselves. There's just no way around it, right? I can take that car insurance. I can take life insurance, even. Let's look at it that way, right? And you do all you can as a parent to protect your children. Ultimately, when you're out of the picture, who's looking out for them? That life insurance policy you took out will not necessarily protect a child who doesn't have, boundaries, or who's not grounded, or who doesn't, just have perspective of how to chart a course for themselves. So that's the same way I look at prenup. Prenup, and to your point, right? To your point, there's the protection aspect, there's the fact that someone can change, but that's the risk where you have to lay it all down to God, or for Christ to take control. Let me walk you back, because again, if you're talking, and it's a real thing, right? I know so many, or I've heard so many instances where people get married, they got married to that bone of their bone, flesh of their flesh, confirmed ones, everyone, join in, attesting this is it, you found the right person.
AKA, you married your soulmate.
Yeah, and for a minute it's working, but then things unfold and unravel, and you're like, who are you? Yeah. But that is a risk that I personally believe we're all putting into God's hands. I just said something, I was about to walk into that, saying, if the foundations be broken, what can the righteous do? What can I, as a child of God, do when I have said to you, according to how God desires it, that a man shall leave and cleave, and then these two people become one. There's no coming together to become one if I'm putting something aside, if there's still a part of me that I'm not giving to you fully and completely. And I think that's why you can't fully know someone, but there are signs. There are telltale signs. There's no marriage that I know that has dissolved that you won't hear one party or the other say, I saw it, I knew this, I saw this part of them, but I didn't heed to it, or they said they would change, or it always escalates, it progresses, it gets bigger, and over time that's what lands us in a place where you're like, oh no, I'm not giving you don't get to take all of me, or you don't deserve to take what I have. And I think once you go into the mindset of marriage just thinking, this is another part of me, another extension of me. At the end of the day, what are they walking away with? They're walking away with half of your money, half of your estate. If they're bad people, they would squander it all anyway. And if you're rooted and you're good, and you know that, the dissolution of that marriage, or the way it ended, was not, had nothing to do with you necessarily, you're going to bounce back. And I have, we're reading Psalms 52 earlier, and it's stated in there, it's written, it may not necessarily be in the concept of finances and marriage, but if you have a lying tongue, if you're deceitful, there's a reward, there's a comeuppance that comes to you eventually. So I think at the end of the day, the stand I take as it relates to marriage and absolutely no prenuptial is, I can't sign a contract against myself. When you're signing a contract, you need two opposing parties. It's always two sides.
So you feel like you guys are already one. So
you're already one. There, there can't be a melding and a blending.
So see, we've talked about foundation, and and you said it comes, during your courtship. All of these things matter, in the end fact of your relationship. But there's people who, I guess, they didn't see the signs. It's possible that, how they say love is blind. I know some people say love is not blind, but love can be blind. Because you see the red flags while you're dating love people. Shouldn't be blind. Not just girls and guys, they see the red flags, but sometimes you just ignore the red flags, You're just like, well, he still loves me, she still loves me. That's all that matters. And people actually marry the wrong people. So, and also in this day and age where like divorce rate is 41%, I think. At least I maybe just in America. But I think it's 41%. So it's like the expectation or the culture now, I feel like, is just to get a prenup because you don't know. And if you've made a mistake marrying the wrong person, you don't want to then suffer and them having to take your properties. Because now, when it comes to actually this prenup thing, I think that because people are saying they want to protect their assets and all these things, I actually think that it's not even necessarily the assets. I think when people actually come to like actually divorce each other, it's they just want to cause the other person the pain that they feel. And the properties they're asking for, some people don't even want it. They just want the one that will hurt you.
You're
the
talking
most.
about unreasonable provisions,
Yeah.
basically within a contract, right? You know, to be honest, the little I know about this is based on public policy and maybe public opinion, or I'll say public policy. Unreasonable clauses in an agreement, especially when that unreasonable clause is almost the getaway card that someone else is using, right? It probably won't hold water in a court of law, right?
Okay.
So I hear what you're saying about the unreasonableness. I just think prenup in and of itself is what is unreasonable, right? I want to touch on quickly on what you said about love is blind. And I get that concept of love being blind. Love is blind because, you're in a euphoria. You're just so smitten.
Your feelings.
Like the second cough I said I had, right? My husband is probably like, ooh, that smells so beautiful at the time, right?
Or he might just see it and be like, that's so cute. She's just herself. She's just
Right?
kind of
But
be.
my point is now he's going to be like, sweet, please. That's what he says now. I'm sure almost 20 years ago, I'm sure he was like, oh, don't worry about it.
It's okay.
But now he's like, no, sweet, please don't do that here. Take it far away, So love is blind. I get that concept. But let's look at 1 Corinthians 13 together, right? It talks about, I know, you're laughing. I know, I'm so sorry. Sorry to the audience. I'm sorry, Joey.
It's okay.
Okay, so
No, it's fine. Actually, I think that I think this is good. People get to have more of a Christian standpoint on this topic, and I can be here to like give you what
to
I
poke
think
holes
people
in
are
it.
feeling.
But okay, so I'll leave the Bible out of this. Okay. Let me use a real example. So I always tell my children, they come, the people they love is constantly changing. Oh, I love X, Y, and Z today. I'm talking about their friends, right? Oh, I love them so much. Oh my God. And they're saying it like, they're hugging their friends at school and they're, oh, love you so much. Oh, love you so much. Oh. And I'm always saying that love is more than that.
Very true.
Much more than how you're feeling in this moment. Love is much more than what they do or who they are or how they make you feel in any given moment. I say to them that love, and this is why love isn't blind. You have to take the blinders off, right? Because love is an action word. There's no way I can't be blinded to do right by you. Love is patient, right? As we started to say, but importantly, love is not self-seeking, right? Love isn't self-seeking. In order for me to be in a marriage fully, I must be all about the other person I'm with. I can't just be in that marriage thinking about me and what I can get out of it.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a satisfaction that I, as a person, must enjoy in that marriage. I can't be in a turbulent marriage and say, I'm only thinking of that next person. I'm just saying that marriage being between a man and a woman, between two people becoming one, right? Self cannot be a part of the question as well.
Yeah.
And it is the self in each and every one of us that may lean us towards thinking about a prenup.
So back on you, love cannot be blind thing. Or love is not blind because there's more attributes to it where like you can be self-seeking. But there are instances where like people truly don't see it coming. They really trust. They wouldn't even, get prenups, right? And I feel like it's because of, I guess, things just happening or people saying things happen negatively or things happening to people, maybe a family member of theirs, and they've seen the negative impact of it, and
And you say,
they're like,
not me.
not me. I'm going to get a prenup.
Never.
I know, like, yes, I fully trust this person, but again, like, people can change. Some people pretend, like, what we're saying, not on this podcast, what we're talking about is like outside of the episode, and we're saying how like it's very popular for, I will not say Nigerian men, so do not come for me. But it's
You
very.
already did.
I know I already did. I mean, it's out there, but it's very common that you see. Let's see.
Maybe you're talking about minorities or immigrants.
Yes. Maybe marry someone just so they can
Immigrants.
get blue passports, like so they can get their passport and make it in life. And there's people who do that and actually are in genuine relationships and love whoever their spouse is with, but there's people who do it just for the sole purpose of that passport, and they would do everything it takes to get it, and whoever is on the other end is not going to see it coming, because some of these men who go as far as have a baby with you, like they'll have a baby with you if you want, they'll be the perfect man, the man of your dreams, but it's all a lie, because as soon as they get it, you're done. And maybe they even have one wife in their home country, who knows. But once they get it, it's done and it's over with. So and there's a high rate of people, like, these things are happening. Like I can go on Instagram, I'm scrolling, I'm like, what's this? I know this is clearly just a sham marriage, but the other person on the other end doesn't know, and these things happen a lot, and I feel like it's very easy to fall victim, and which is why people are saying, don't try to go, oh, I love, oh, I'm Christian. Yes, we know you're Christian. Yes, we know you love, you trust this person, but you're like I will see these lawyers, they'll be like, just get it. The way you get a life insurance. Do you want to die? You don't. Like, just get it. It would never hurt you to get it, because if your marriage even blossoms, okay, great. And the prenup is never gets used, and maybe later on in the marriage you can even decide to let's dissolve.
I think at the end of the day, what you're talking about is really, there's no hard and fast rule to anything. The Bible doesn't specifically talk about prenup, right? Just using the the lead pad to which I'm addressing this. So putting that aside, it doesn't expressly talk about it, right? But it talks about money endlessly, right? I believe what you're talking about is really, and I will keep reiterating this point, is the knowing of the person. It's the knowing, and maybe beyond the person, it's the knowing of the God in them, or the lack thereof. We've all seen it before. I have seen it in, very close quarters, where people came in, I'm holy, I love God, I am respectful, I'm responsible, I'm all of these things. And then 2 minutes in certain instances, or in certain instances, 15 years in, 10 years in, and you're like, ooh, I see their real true color. But my question to you and everyone listening and watching us is this: do we then have a contract out for every possible aspect of life. I have a relationship with you. Why am I not
But in
signing?
other
Why am
aspects
I
of
not signing a contract right now and saying, if you hurt me as a friend, right? If you hurt me as a friend, then these are the terms of how we break and dissolve that relationship.
I mean, but see, there are certain levels to certain relationships. Like, you have
I get that.
friendships, you have your family. Like, the
What
bond
about
is
children?
stronger.
Is there a contract in dealing with children? Because to your point,
But your children
children.
are from you. You have no choice than to accept.
So what is the? But you're telling me.
You've basically gotten into
So
a
my
contract from
children
the
are from
time
me.
the child was born
So
to be that child's legal
So
guardian, whether you like it or not.
So my children are from
And that's the
me,
contract.
but my husband
Okay.
is also then me. My children may be from me, but my husband is meant to be me. There's no he and I. There is us, a one, right? So I think, again, I understand the scenarios you're painting. And I think in scenarios like that, where an immigrant, or you've heard these stories, or it's happened in your family, or, it's prevalent, it's happening all around you. So there's a fear that is gripping you, and you're like, ooh, I need to protect myself. Then if you know that's the case, then I don't know, maybe a trust is a better way of going about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe a trust is a better way of going about it, to say, I'm holding what I have in trust for. I don't know. I just think, when you start dabbling into prenup, right? It's, how can I get into a contract with myself? That's all I do for a living. I don't see an agreement that says, doing organization against doing organization. No, it's a doing organization or legal entity against mine. And then we're tussling back and forth in drafting and reaching the terms of that agreement. Everyone is coming to the table protecting themselves. So all of the
I think I understand what you're saying. It's like, once, like, when you decide to get married to somebody, that person is literally like you and that person are just like together.
that person becomes
So you're
you.
not protecting. It
No.
doesn't make sense, because
No.
how you think should be respective of that other person.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. That's the way I look at it. I'm sure many people don't agree. And all of the scenarios you've painted are real. They're true. They're tangible. We've seen it. I'm just saying that, I cannot go through life, because there is a friend that is much closer than a brother, right? There are some relationships that you have of maybe not marital, right? But when it breaks up, it hurts even much more. It's almost like a mourning, right? So I'm just saying that what is in place for me in managing the dissolution of that friendship,
Yeah.
right? If you're going into something, you have to go into it head on. And I would always go back to the beginning as well, which is in our coming together, in our courtship, right? In that dating period, in that space, who have you involved in your relations, right? In who is able to take a different perspective than you, that you're smitten and you're in love, and you really perhaps cannot see as clearly as that next person. What are the red flags? What needs to be worked on? Importantly, and I think this is, who are they? What's the character? What's their character like? What is their relationship with money? My husband talks about this a lot, and it is so true. It boils down to, who are they at their core? So who are they at their core, right? What's the condition of their heart? Because if someone loves you completely, truly, deeply, then even when a marriage dissolves, the gentility and the care and the tenderness and the love they have for you, even throughout that marriage, will come through, where they're not taking you for everything you have. They're not leaving you with a broken heart and, desolate fortune or future. So I think at the end of the day, going back to the very beginning, pre-marriage, who are they at their core?
You guys, the lesson here is know who you're with. Try to be careful. Well, do what you gotta do. Pray. I've been seeing videos of like to say, oh, Sierra's prayer. Basically anybody that has a good husband, they'll be like, what's your prayer? So essentially, just pray. Make sure you're with a good person, because in the end, someone who's good, they are not gonna want you to suffer. Is the person you're with, are they giving?
Absolutely.
No, don't be with no stingy man. Okay?
Or someone that is just very self-centered. I think this comes back to what we're talking about as it relates to marriage. We're talking about a contract that you go into knowing that you'll be protected ultimately, right, for those for prenup. What I think and what I know is prenup, and I should say this, there is no sin that happens as a result of signing a prenup. The Bible is not explicit, as someone dear just said. The Bible isn't explicit, and I talked about that earlier. The Bible doesn't actually mention prenup. It talks about money a lot, and money is at the heart of signing the prenup, or not. But there's no sin if you sign a prenup and you choose to go that route. The only reason that I would really ask anyone to not consider it or not even delve into it is there is a sowing of doubts and discord and distrust that I believe it sows into that marriage. So take, for example, you are doing well. Remember, we're talking about a contract here, right?
Yeah.
So you are bringing your lawyers. If we're married or we're getting married, it's not the same lawyer that represents us. Yeah? That shows the disunity already. Then my lawyer is negotiating hard for me. So if I walk out of that prenup arrangement and I think I got the short end of the stick, then that is already making me look at that, my partner, my future husband or wife, thinking, I don't think they really genuinely like me for stifling me this much in an agreement. Or it sows a seed of, what if I then get better in future?
Then what
if my
happens?
fortunes are bigger and greater? When I start flourishing, then I'm going to bring you back to that drawing table to say, listen, let's look at this again, because now I'm flourishing. I'm doing better than you. So I think there would constantly be just that power tussle of, I have to outdo you, or I'm going to hide what I'm doing because this too may have to be divvied up. So I would say, if anyone came to me to ask about the concept of prenup, my core would say no, but I would ultimately leave it to you, because I feel like prenup is a sensitive matter, as sensitive as divorce, isn't it? I don't know what's fully going on in your marriage. I couldn't be the one to tell you, absolutely not, you can have a divorce because the Bible says. I will tell you what the Bible says, but ultimately, you knowing fully what's going on, you knowing fully who you're married to, and the conditions within your home and your heart, then you would make that decision to either leave or stay. I think it's the same reason that I would have for saying no to a prenup, but I would also tell the person coming to me to really probe and ask them why they're thinking of having a prenup. So is it because of the person you're married to? Is it something in your past? Is it the trend of society now, what is your motive? What is the condition of your heart as well in actually seeking to have a prenup?
Those are some good points. May I shall say that if you don't have more than 500 million in your bank account, you'll have no reason to be asking for a prenup. Now, this is just me just looking for people's trouble. You guys don't take me seriously. I'm just kidding. But essentially, I just think that why do people get prenups? Most likely because, you know, if
To
they're in
protect
the
their
event
assets.
of a to protect their assets in the event of a divorce.
But-
And I just think that regardless, divorce is nothing simple or chill. It's still going to be hard. And it's not even worth it because most of the people who've had divorces, they talk about their divorce. They're just like, I just wish I didn't get married to this person in this first place. Or, you know, I never made this commitment in the first place. I mean, some of them, you know, remarry and, you know, their new marriage is a lot better. But getting married to the wrong person, I feel like, is the base of this. And like you said, you know, you bringing up that prenup, you just think it's just from an aspect of distrust. And I know some people who do get prenups, but sometimes it's more of, you know, their family like pushing them towards it. So even between the partners, they're fine because they're just like, okay, you know what, his parents are like really on him to do this. I don't know if you know this comedian, but I'll just chip this in. So her name is Ali Wong. She's very famous now. She makes a lot of money. Her husband graduated from Harvard Business School when they were dating at the time. She wasn't doing anything. She was literally a bomb. And when they got married, his parents were like, they must get a prenup because, you know, his future looks like, you know,
very bright.
It's going to be bright. And she was like, guess what? I paid off all his student debts. And they made me sign a whole prenup. Guess what? I'm in the lead now. So, you know, so essentially, just be careful of who you're with. It's important that the person has a good heart. But again, like First Lily said, it all boils down to you deciding on which works for you or which doesn't work for you. But be with a good person. And that.
And I think at the end of the day, just to really chip this in with the points you made. So 2 points. The first one is the one you made about, their next marriage was better.
Yeah.
So there was an undoing that they had to do, I'm sure. You know, there was a retrospective, you know, unraveling, if you will, that they had to say, what did I do the first time round? And let me undo all of that or do things differently.
Yeah.
So we are saying here that you don't have to have that first divorce to walk your way back and do the right thing. You can do the right thing the first time and get it right. And it's by God, because at the end of the day, there's a level of risk that we all take in marriage. There's a going out knowing that, I'm a good person, I'm a good driver, I'm going to be courteous to everyone around me. I would be a good, driver on the road. But I don't know about the next person and the third one and the fifth, right? So at the end of the day, you know, we are going into marriage checking all of the boxes that we think by God, right? And by the people around us, we've done the right thing, we've vetted them. But ultimately, I got married to Deji Lana knowing he's a child of God, but praying every day that he remains such. I know that there's a level of, standard that I brought into the marriage, but I still put my life and my ways in God's hands, praying that I do better as a person. You know, it's not everybody that falls forward. Many people fall and they roll all the way back down the hill.
Very true.
You know, so it's not in the lack of falling, but it's hoping that as we go through life, that person that we're with falls forward. The second point I wanted to make, and I think I already touched on it, is the fact of this comedian that you talked about. You know, when you think about a contract, because that's what a prenup is, there is someone that will feel a certain way about getting the short end of the stick, right? I got the short end. She didn't do right by me. Thank God. And I don't know what their marriage is like, or, you know.
They're happily married.
Right.
Married. At least that's
Thank
what the
God
internet.
she has a sense of humor about it.
Yeah.
Thank God she's not judging him, or she doesn't feel,
No, it was more of his parents though. That
or she doesn't, you know what, there are many times I would let the sins of the father roll onto the children.
Yeah.
People do that. They have just so much contempt for one person that is sips into everything else. So there's a striving, but there are many people that will be like, now I have the upper hand.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about this again. And the fact that they've come into their own flourishing season would cause all sorts of problems in their marriages, because now they feel like I have the upper hand, and I can serve you in the same coin that you dealt with me on.
Okay. Thank you, First Lady. Some good points. But you guys, it's been a great first episode. I'll still have her come on this podcast one more time. And I forgot to actually say this in the beginning, but I'm doing a theme. It's called Making Money and Love Decisions. And this just happens to be the first topic on that theme. So look forward to the remaining topics here to come. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming. All right. Bye.